that negative emotion, all those hatred and fear and ignorance, and we are transforming it how? Not by fighting back. We can only control what we do. So what am I doing? I'm transforming the experience. Whatever comes my way, I'm transforming the negative experience into a positive experience, because ultimately I don't have control outside, I have control inside. So, Abaya Mudra. Everybody see? Okay. Not different, well, a little bit different from what Dilgo Kyentse Rinpoche, I think he did like this. So I don't purposely try to do what he did. That's fabrication, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to fabricate, because we just want to be with reality naturally, just as it is. Abaya Mudra. Transforming all the negative into positive, overcoming that with loving kindness and compassion and mercy and joy and equanimity. So let's talk a little bit about the 5 skandhas. So we have form, we have feeling, we have sensation, we have perception, and we have mental formation. So if we were to look at for the self, we could look in those 5 skandhas, but first we would look in sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, our 5 senses. We could even look in the 3 doors for that substantial solid self, but we wouldn't find it, neither outside the body or inside the body. The Buddha did a very special meditation, a very special, what is called in Pali, samadhi. Under that tree, he searched for the self, the source of all suffering. And he cut through with the practice of his samadhi, that strong grasping at this substantial, supposedly real, solid self, the source of all suffering for self and others. He let go, and he realized the ultimate potential that was already there, that he had practiced over countless lifetimes, not just suddenly became Buddha. That doesn't happen. Even to highly realized masters, they don't just suddenly wake up one day and become highly realized master. That is because they have practiced over countless lifetimes. So, when we make a commitment in our practice, that is a lifetime commitment. So don't become worried or frightened or upset or think that, oh my goodness, how many mantras am I going to have to do? How many prostrations? Oh my goodness, 100,000 or 200, maybe 300,000. Don't think in terms of the nundro as this is something I must complete, a task, a contract. I'm finished, now I get paid. No, not like that. It's not a job. It's a lifetime commitment. What you can do is realize that over your lifetime, you're going to do those however many prostrations you're committed to. And the purpose of the prostrations is not to prostrate to something external. It's to prostrate to your Tathagata Garbha, your Buddha nature, your potential that you're born with, that's already present. Your Buddha nature is always there. Sometimes it's clouded, just like the clouds cover the sun when it's going to rain. But then when the rain goes away, the sun comes out. Doesn't mean the sun went someplace. It's always there. Your Tathagata Garbha is just like that. Now, we should discuss a little bit about merit and karma. Now, merit, to extremely simplify things, is when you do positive actions and you dedicate the merit, and then that's like having money in the bank. However, if you do negative actions and you expect to get something positive out of that, That is like writing a bad check or having a lot of debt. You don't want that. So if you really don't want to do is do as many negative actions as you can. You want to try to do the opposite. As many positive actions as you can. And if you can't, at least you say, I rejoice in the merit or the action, all the positive actions that other people are doing. And then you share in that merit. The same as if you were doing those actions yourself. So, whenever you see someone doing something positive, you can say that. You can say, I rejoice in your merit. I congratulate you. That's fantastic. Please keep benefiting all beings. Whatever you did, that was terrific. I'm so happy. I'm overjoyed. And really mean that. Don't fabricate. I really mean what you say when you say that to people. But at the same time, please, don't say, oh, that's the most horrible human being on the face of the earth. I wish they were dead. That's the opposite of the Buddhist teaching. That would be trying to stop other people from driving their car. No, you can only drive your own car. You can't control others on the road, otherwise you have an accident. That's how accidents happen. People think that they can drive other people's car and theirs at the same time. It doesn't work out like that. You can only control how you react to your experience. You can experience that, whatever it is, each experience as dharma. Or you can focus on the problem, that's solution-based thinking. You can focus on the problem, be problem-based thinking, and say to yourself, which is, I wouldn't, because it's negative self-talk. Then you might say, oh, I'm a terrible person because this person told me that, or I'm bad, or I'm doing wrong. Okay, that could be true, but that doesn't mean you say that to yourself. You say, well, you know, I'm in a mistake, so I'll try to be a better person. I'm a good person, I'll try to be a better person. I made a mistake, I'll try not to do it again. That's, you know, we don't want to overcomplicate things. Try to benefit all living beings. That's the essence of this bodhisattva vow. It doesn't mean you have to fix everything, or fix everybody, or fix every situation. What you could do, when you see a situation where people are suffering, natural disaster, or let's take the present situation, the pandemic. And now you can't do something directly about those people who are suffering in other countries, or even in this country, America, where I am, but you can visualize in your mind, and you can recite, may all beings be happy. This is the Theravada practice, by the way. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from happiness and the causes of happiness. So you see, that's no different than what we would say as a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner, or a Chinese Buddhist practitioner, or Japanese, or Vietnamese, or whatever school you belong to. Basically the core essence is the same. So I see here, Tenzin Khalsang, you said some are so angry, how can I control him? Well, you can't. Well, you can control your action, your reaction to that person. So again, we have abaya, right? We have abaya. What does that mean? That means I can transform the experience. We're making the sign of stopping, right? So I can control my reaction to that other person. I can transform this experience, no matter whether it's extremely negative or not. I can transform it into whatever I want to make it. If I want to react in a negative way to negative experience, then I have not changed my mind or transformed it. If I want to try my very best to be patient and compassionate and having loving kindness in my heart, no matter what happens, then I have began to transform my mind. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take however long it takes, because you have to start from where you are. Whatever point you're at, you start there. So we're starting from today. You've taken Bodhisattva vows. If you were here online during the time I gave the Bodhisattva vows and explained them, so that means, no, you didn't suddenly become a Bodhisattva. You've taken the vows. You'll hopefully try to keep them the best you can. If you didn't keep them, and then you would do the Bodhisattva confession ceremony, the 49 Buddhas confession ceremony, and you just say, okay, so I made a mistake. I'm part of the human race, and then therefore I'll try not to do that again. That person made me upset temporarily, but that was up to me. You can only control your reaction to the other person. You can only control yourself. So, as an example, if you're on the freeway, or you're on a street, like a local street, and you're trying to get somewhere, or let's say you're on a path, a village dirt path, a village road, you're trying to get somewhere, and that person just cut right in front of you. By gosh, that's terrible. They cut me off. Okay, who's saying that? The person who's saying that is the same person who thinks that there's a substantial solid you. I mean mine. There you go. That's the source of all suffering for yourself and others. As soon as you say any one of those three words, you start your conversation, or you start your experience with that. It doesn't become better after you say that. No matter how, matter of fact, the more tightly you hold on to those concepts of I mean mine, the more you're going to suffer and cause other people to suffer. And we don't want that as Buddhists. We want to help others to experience joy and happiness and compassion and mercy and not suffer. We on the Bodhisattva path are promising to try to help all sentient beings, all living beings, not to suffer, not to experience fear, not to experience any form of suffering. So, once again, we can't directly control what happens to them. But when we see natural disaster, or when we see something terrible happening around the world, we see the image on the television or in the newspaper, don't waste that. By the fact that you are using that to generate more compassion, you dedicate the merit to that person whose image you're looking at, or people that you're looking at in that image. Now we have access to the internet, so we might not be looking at the TV news, or we might not be looking at newspaper. So when we are looking at that image, that disturbing image, sometimes we want to look away. Some people make animals suffer for no reason. They just hurt them. And then, of course, animals have no way to say, please don't do that, I'm suffering. So we can use that as an opportunity, for example, to wish that that poor animal is not suffering. And we certainly don't want to cause the animal suffering. And we wish for that person who's causing the animal suffering or the people suffering to transform their mind, but we can't force them. They are in control of their own mind, and they're making their own choice. We should understand the laws of cause and effect. So if they're doing something negative, they're definitely not going to be happy. And we want them to be happy. But we can't go around being global policemen and fix everybody. We have to fix ourselves. We have to train our mind, transform our mind, and either we see the experience as a dharma lesson, a teaching, or we focus on the negative side and reactionary side, and we say, that person made me suffer. That person made me angry. That person made me mad. That person made me upset. That person made me frustrated. No, that's not possible. That's humanly impossible. You did that to yourself. You did that because you allowed the other person to upset you, or make you frustrated, or make you angry, or make you anything. They can't make you anything. That's impossible. We are conscious beings, and therefore we have what they call in Christianity free will. We have the choice what we're going to do, how we're going to react, what we're going to say. So we have body, speech, and mind, our three doors, and with those three doors, first comes the mind. As the ox cart follows the ox, it says in the Buddhist teaching, so therefore the action follows the thought. So I'm sure that's basically understandable to most people. So if you're thinking already that negative thought, then you're going to say something terrible, you're going to say something angry or mean-spirited, and that person's going to be defensive, and they're probably going to react back at you. They're not going to smile unless they've been practicing for numerous years. Now they'll be able to transform that and not react in an extremely negative way to you, even if you're hateful towards them. I was in a nursing home, on a personal note. I was stage 4 brain tumor. First I was in the hospital for 2 years, and then I was in 2 different nursing homes. So when I was in the hospital having chemotherapy is a type of treatment which kills the cancer, but it also kills all the healthy cells, and it really harms your body. So that's not really the point. So I asked Holiness, Dalai Lama, what should I do? I'm your student. How do I transform this terrible experience? He said, well, you can sit around feeling sorry for yourself and mope and groan and say how terrible it is and make other people also unhappy. Or you can tell jokes and you can sing songs and you can do everything within your power to transform that experience, not just for yourself, but for every person around you. And you know what? I did that. And the first person to be happy was me. When I was telling jokes, I was laughing because they were funny to me. And not everybody laughed, and I didn't care. I didn't try to irritate anyone, but I didn't expect anything. If you don't have any expectation, then therefore you can't be sad or upset if it doesn't turn out the way you want it. So when I told my jokes and sang my songs, some people sang with me, some people requested songs, some people told their own jokes, and I laughed. So it transformed that experience of having the chemotherapy, which is really difficult and very challenging, especially for a practicer. Imagine if you're not practicing anything, if you're just so caught up in suffering, the experience of this is my body and I'm terribly suffering. So what I did was I picked those people who were in the worst condition, 3 or 4 times worse than the condition I was in, and those are the people I told jokes to, and those are the people that I sang songs with. Some of them were probably not going to make it from the chemotherapy. I knew that. But if I could just for a brief moment bring them some happiness and transform that experience of suffering, it gave me enormous joy, boundless joy. When you put others before yourself, then you experience freedom and joy. The gift of the Dharma exceeds all others. That's a phrase that it says in the text. Now, what does that mean? Well, gift of the Dharma, well, let's take gold, or jewels, or treasure, or land, or money, or anything that we can think is material. And then, of course, those can be destroyed by fire, or water, or wind, or whatever it is. Happens, natural disaster, destroys our bank. Our money can get used up or spent. Our gold could be used up or spent. Our jewels could be taken away by robbers. All of those things are impermanent and transient. But the gift of the Dharma, when you practice, okay, and let's say you've practiced many years, and then in this case, you try to benefit all sentient beings, even just forming that wish. May I benefit all sentient beings. May they all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they all be may all sentient beings be happy. Just by saying that, just by wishing that, just by thinking that, you purify lifetimes of karma. But there's the opposite of that, of course, like anything. The opposite of that is if you spend your life frivolously chasing after material things, or getting your life used up in anger and hatred and ignorance and violence, and then it's used up, and then when you reach the end and you're in the Bardo and you haven't practiced, and then, as Guru Rinpoche says, you'll be like a dazed dog. You won't know which way to go, whether to go forward or backward or side to side, and you won't realize that whatever is appearing is a manifestation of your mind. So first, when you enter into the Bardo, and then you would have those friends, if you've been practicing, and they would greet you in a very positive experience. And then second, you would have your teacher to guide you in the Bardo. And then third, your idam, or dakas and dakinis, would appear to you, and you would separation of the consciousness from the body, which the process takes 49 days. There isn't an immediate separation. And then in that case, as you were separating the consciousness from the body, you would do powa, which Ayang Rinpoche teaches, which I have taken teachings of. That's extremely important. If you haven't realized a very high level before the end of your life, powa will become very important for you. Either your teacher can do powa for you, or if you realize that higher level of experience as a practitioner, and that you could do powa for other people. You should receive the powa teaching from a qualified master, such as Sakya Trichin Gomong Rinpoche, the head of the Sakya lineage. I received it from him, and I also received the teaching from Chabje Choge Trichin Rinpoche of the Sakya lineage as well, who is the teacher of Sakya Trizin. I felt drawn to both of them. I didn't say, oh, they're Sakya and I'm Nima, or I'm Kagyu and they're Nima, or I'm Gelu and they're not. I can appreciate, I can practice any one of the traditions, the same as His Holiness Dalai Lama can wear the hat of any tradition and give the teaching of any tradition. He's a Rime non-sectarian. That means that he's really practicing Sopa Chenpo. There's no separations. The only limitation of bodhicitta is within the confines of your mind. However far you can expand your mind, and then you'll be able to manifest that loving kindness and compassion to every being in every realm, and they be freed from all suffering of any kind. So, This is a little practice that I do, personal practice, and you could try it as well. It's what I started out with before I took the first time Bodhisattva vows. So what you want to do is you want to picture the 8 hot hells. Now, in the 8 hot hells, there is molten fire, melted metal, molten lava, which is being poured, and there's also fire, and there are chains to hold that person in place in the 8 hot hells. Now then you have the 8 cold hells, where you're freezing, and it is called the bone-shattering freezing. So you're in those 8 cold hells, and that's caused by people who have a cold, unfeeling, uncaring personality towards those other people. So you either have the hot personality where you hate and your ignorance and fear, and then your violence, or you would have the cold personality. Then of course we have the preta. Preta is like a type of being which is experiencing a very severe suffering. Then we have the hungry ghost. Now hungry ghost would love to eat something, but the only way they can eat is with the sur. So the pretas are able to enjoy the water offerings. We can do water offering for them. Within the Mahayana Chinese tradition, there's a special sutra about doing water offering and for those hungry ghosts and for those preta. It's an extensive practice which I've done, both in Tibetan tradition and in Chinese tradition. So getting back to the hungry ghost, they have very tiny throat, very small throat, very big belly, they have very big mouth. So then what happens? Of course they can get into the mouth something, but they can't enjoy it because they have tiny throat. And then it gets to the stomach, big stomach, so then that means doesn't really make a difference how much goes in there. Then the stomach is too big, so it's never satisfied. So that hungry ghost comes from jealousy, very tight, holding on to that, grasping at that substantial self-solid nature, and that you would become hungry ghost. And then there are the animal realm, and those sentient beings in the animal realm, they got there because of their karma, and they didn't have enough merit. So then they were born as animal, and then that means they can't say anything. They very much wish to say something, that please don't kill me for your food, don't make me suffer. Like those poor animals that you see in the World Wildlife Fund who are being poached, or AASPCA, and they're being beaten or tortured by their owners, those pets. And they can't say anything. They wish they could. They wish they could cry out. And there are cases